This is a follow-up to the PsyOp video I did last week. That video generated thousands of comments in just a couple of days, which was higher than normal. The temperature in the discussion, though, was also steaming hot, and frankly, there was a lot of yelling. The more interesting detail was that practically every comment was focused on all the political opinions, accusing the opposite side of this or that, or calling me names. But hardly a comment on the fact that there was a real PsyOp. Don't be a PsyOp denier. It was almost as if the factual presentation of the PsyOp was merely a distraction while everyone went on their merry way doing political grandstanding. Folks, stop the fighting and divisiveness. Listen to me. The use of data and identity-driven PsyOps is a game changer. This is ratcheting up the technology to whole new levels of nefarious use. If one side can initiate a PsyOp, the other side will do it too, ASAP. I want people to not be vulnerable to PsyOps from anyone. I want organic people power. What I want to teach you today is how to detect if a PsyOp is taking place. If you can detect it, you can react and make changes in your activities, which means to be privacy aware. Privacy itself is a constant target of a PsyOp, so they don't want you to hear what I say, but resist that and stay right there. I've been trying to expose this particular long-term attempt at manipulation of people's hearts and minds for more than 3 years now. And frankly, no matter what words I use, my videos always falter. So I figured there's something going on, something called suppression. It's related to censorship, shadow banning, and so on. But this time when I made that video, I chose not to mention the entity by name that is the target of my expose. However, it should be quite apparent from what I showed in that video. To keep this video immune from suppression, I will not get into who the player is that I documented, so you can watch that PsyOp video if you haven't yet. At the time I'm creating this video, that video is still up, and at some point I'm figuring the algorithm will begin to suppress it as well. It's off to a good start so far though. What surprises me are the reactions of people, at least as far as I can gauge from the comments. I suppose the reactions are predictable since the example I gave was specifically from a left-wing platform, but that's because that is currently who is in power. Power dictates who can run these PsyOps. So I understand the perceived bias in my presentation. But while you fight or accuse me of being against whatever your politics are, or disagreeing with some side comments I make based on some other conspiracy theory, you are missing the point. I do not push any particular political belief on anyone. The precedent has been set for using this against a population. Now Pandora's box has opened, and multiple parties will attempt to do this, and thus causing more societal division. By the way, it could also be that the chaos is the point of the PsyOp. What I want to talk to you about now is being alert to who can run these PsyOps. Please stop claiming that someone's propaganda is a PsyOp because you disagree with it. This is going to make you sound like a conspiracy theorist. A PsyOp is an organized affair. It is data-driven. It is identity-driven. It is intended to change hearts and minds, not start arguments. It is cross-checked with scientific data to ensure that it works. It is scarier than you think because it is straight up mind control. Let's look at who can organize a PsyOp. Tech PsyOps can only be done by entities with lots of personally identifiable data and behavioral data. This is extremely important to understand because it also explains why saying Alex Jones is a PsyOp, or that Elon Musk is a PsyOp, or that mainstream media is a PsyOp is not in the same realm of discussion as big tech PsyOp or a CIA PsyOp. As of today, only 3 entities are collecting data to the extent that you can figure out where people's hearts and minds are. And these are Google, Facebook, and the No Such Agency. This data can be acquired from social media platforms as well, using data accumulated by social media aggregators. These are the companies that scour the internet and then accumulate data for each real identity they have. Aggregators like Axiom and Intellius. In addition, no such agency has access to internet traffic, phone calls, emails, and you can assume that that is stored at the Utah data center. Some players can get access to this government data, and of course, our identity is carved in stone in government databases, so they can match that. The biggest player to fear in this realm is Palantir. Individual companies cannot have the same reach as the parties I mentioned here unless they work in partnership with someone else with data, like these three groups. Let me give you examples of limitations. The X platform does not have identities. On X, you make up a username, which can be anything, and X does not require anything that does KYC. So your activities on X cannot be used in the same way as Google or Facebook can. So please stop with the conspiracy theories you hope will match your politics. Currently, the players to fear are Google, Facebook, and Palantir, and whoever else the government deigns to work with. But shortly, maybe the most fearful of all will be Microsoft and Apple, coming soon, to be discussed later. Again, the fear is that platforms that collect what is in your hearts and minds and know how to identify you creates the true technology PsyOp threat of modern day. Identity is a key ingredient to the PsyOp because, as I said in past videos, the messaging must be targeted to be effective. If your identity is not known, then resources are wasted and you are not triggered. Not everyone has to be a target of a PsyOp for a PsyOp to work. Often a PsyOp seeks to trigger a fringe population or a narrow band of middle-of-the-road people. So just because you are not yet personally targeted doesn't mean anything. But even average people can find the targeting walls by changing habits and searching for politically heavy terms in Google search. You will at some point see that some people will get different search results than you. This is, of course, the application of the redirect method that I've been talking about. And no, don't search that term on Google search, as it will trigger the PsyOp on you. Just understand that if they cannot identify you as belonging to a specific population, then no targeting is possible. I'm going to give you a clue now. If any platform keeps a lot of your personal data, opinions, and ideas, then these platforms can be turned to instant evil the moment you see that they want KYC. What is KYC? Know your customer. This is something Facebook was first to do. Require a real phone number, require a real name. Something Nikki Haley wanted all of us to do on the internet. The moment they do that, then the data they've collected on you can now be used for a PsyOp operation. They could do the PsyOps themselves or feed their data to a larger entity with more data. This is why I warn you to always be careful of sites requiring KYC and twisting two-factor authentication so they get real phone numbers. Phone numbers are a key identifier and it's individualized. IP addresses are identifiers, but they are not necessarily individualized since a household could share IP addresses among all the residents. Nevertheless, any attempt at collecting data that can identify you is a problem. So to me, any platform that starts rejecting voice over IP phone numbers for receiving 2FA are extremely suspicious unless they have an authentic reason for doing KYC, like financial sites. This is also why I'm careful to use different emails for different social media sites, as an email can be an identity. Many of you don't get why you need something like a de-Googled phone. Your entire internet actions are tracked by your Google ID and your Apple ID. Thus, even without a specific KYC, a party like Google can identify you precisely. As I mentioned in the last video, one of the key elements of a PsyOp is message suppression and message amplification. The particular PsyOp entity I identified in the last video referred to suppression as disruption, and then the amplification portion was labeled as intervention. The problem is that it is hard to detect amplification, but I'll get to that later. The disruption step is actually censorship, and this is easy to detect. Censorship, which is the suppression tool, is heavily used in practically every big tech platform like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and so on. The new platform Blue Sky, where all the popular extreme left people ran to after the last election, is also extremely censored. In fact, it seems like censorship was built into the platform from the beginning. I'm just warning you, those that claim PsyOps in other platforms should be aware that half the tool in a PsyOp is censorship. For example, X has very limited censorship that I can see. I've been there since 2013, and the censorship during the Jack Dorsey days was horrendous, and now it is not nearly as censored. Some of you don't like Elon Musk because of politics, but regardless of your opinion, the fact is that without censorship, you cannot execute a PsyOp in modern tech. You've just eliminated 50% of your toolkit. So be wary of any platform that has obvious censorship. Please do not be a party to censorship. I know some of you have been taught the nice words like content moderation. I know some of you use words like toxic platform whenever there is no censorship. But be careful what you wish for, because unfortunately, censorship is a control tool and it is hard to execute this fairly and evenly. My channel is not about pushing any extremist views of any sort, yet I've received content suppression, content moderation, and demonetization. Why? Because privacy itself is a PsyOp target. In order to gain access to you, to control you, you must be convinced to ignore privacy. You must be convinced to rely on the iPhone 16, Google Search, Facebook, and Instagram. And yes, I've skipped mentioning some other platforms here to counter the PsyOp. So be suspicious that when there's a high volume of censorship, that is the tool of a PsyOp. I'm using the word propaganda to associate with message amplification. And the reason I use this word is because it implies a non-organic promotion of a message. It is hard to distinguish message amplification as being organic or not, but anytime a message seems to be suddenly disproportionately loud compared to other issues, it may indicate the use of artificial amplification. Artificial amplification need not come just from the platform. The old Twitter was a big target of bots from various state players. I had a friend with a Twitter channel that was specifically focused on finding these bots, and he would call them out when his statistical measurements showed activity that clearly was not organic. He frequently identified Iranian assets in his channel. I'm sure other states are initiating these kinds of bot activities, but maybe you can tell me if there are official sources of this in the comments. Intuitively, we would imagine Russia and China to be doing a lot of this. But understand this, as a PsyOp, this has limited effect because bot-induced state propaganda is not targeted. And in a platform with no censorship, the propaganda can be fact-checked by others, so you at least get multiple opinions, and that cancels out the message. But understand that many platforms can control what shows up in your feed, and that can be directly linked to a PsyOp if your identity is known to be in the target market. This is the limiting factor to abuse in a platform like X. Without too much of a data history, X only judges you for what you're doing on the platform itself at that given moment. It is possible for a platform like X to target messages to people based on what they read. If you're reading mostly left-wing posts or mostly right-wing posts, then the algorithm can show you more of that content. This is easily countered because in my case, for example, I view comments from a wide political spectrum all the time. By the way, if people argue with you, don't start complaining that you're in a PsyOp. It sounds stupid. Obviously, you are likely getting an organic reaction. A PsyOp is an artificially generated response to fool you into thinking a certain way. Think of the mantra, privacy is iPhone. That reeks of a PsyOp, though it could just be tons of advertising dollars, which is PsyOp-like. In summary, I just want to distinguish that organizations with data are the most dangerous for PsyOps. Platforms like Facebook are dangerous because they know not only who you are, but precisely every interest, where you live, your communities, your real name, your credit records, and then tie this to what you will see on your feed. There will be no doubt to me that Facebook is ripe for PsyOps. In fact, that is where Cambridge Analytica data came from. This is a new scary development and will push PsyOps into a new realm. I will talk more about this in the next video, but the new AI put into phones like Apple Intelligence, Google Gemini, and the Microsoft Copilot on Windows introduces a whole new tool for PsyOps. All the elements of the PsyOp can be executed by the AI. The goal is for the AI to know you well. This is because the AI can watch your screen, see what you see, hear what you hear, see the traffic on the internet as it happens, cancel out end-to-end encryption. The AI is meant to be a duplicate of your mind. The AI does not need any external targeting to identify you. It already knows you as the owner of the device. The AI can then be the funnel that controls all the information you will see. Thus, all the tools such as message suppression, message amplification are right there for you to hear. Instantaneous manipulation. Since this will be more knowledge than even what Google currently has on you, the next generation of PsyOps to fear will be from the likes of Microsoft and Apple, the two largest corporations on Earth. And it will all be driven by the embedded AI in operating systems like Windows, iOS, and macOS. I'm not sure if Google is headed this AI direction with Android yet, and the reason is that they already have data but acquired through your internet history. The interesting thing with the PsyOps is that if you follow my privacy teachings, then you've already evaded the main PsyOp, which is that privacy is unimportant. This has been the long-term goal of all of the big tech players, from Facebook to Google. Then Apple co-opted this by making it seem that they're really about privacy, which is an absolute cover. But now that you follow me, you've passed through the gauntlet because you are now one of the free. So this generates a bit of nonchalance because some of you won't care that the PsyOp is targeting some other group of normies. However, as many of you already know, the attempts at PsyOps changes votes. It amplifies certain messages, especially among a fringe crowd that seems to reach the press more often. It drowns out competing messages quickly. It can be frustrating to watch as obvious lies are repeated day after day, and people targeted by PsyOps don't even realize they're regurgitating lies. I don't know the answer to this, as I struggle to reach a wider audience with the importance of privacy. I have to fight for privacy itself, as it is a coordinated message suppression target of big tech. It is also likely that the shills that attack in my comments or on Reddit are active elements of a PsyOp, since this is within the realm of what big tech would seek to suppress. Those of you who believe in privacy are part of our resistance team. We are the protective wall they cannot cross because we are unpredictable. This is why I don't really want the privacy issue to be co-opted by one political side. A diverse group would be a stronger opponent to all kinds of PsyOps from any side. The bigger the privacy community, the bigger the challenge for the PsyOp machinery, as their effectiveness is diminished. All I can do right now is spread the message. Protect your identity and your information. Protect your actions on the internet. Folks, this is the sponsor section, and I sponsor myself to support this channel. I try to avoid seeking donations as the main source of funds for this channel. Instead, I offer products and services as it is not a handout, but I appreciate your support, and I appreciate those who do donate on Patreon, Locals, and YouTube memberships. If you're not donating, consider many of our products. One of the new products we have is the Brax 2 Privacy Phone. We are proud to release this second iteration of the Brax phone, and this is currently on pre-order on the Indiegogo site. This phone is an essential tool for privacy since it keeps you invisible from big tech. In addition to this, we have other products and services on our platform BraxMe. BraxMe is a community of people, and there are over 100,000 people there discussing privacy issues daily. On our store there, you will see privacy tools such as our Brax Virtual Phone, Brax Mail, Bytes VPN, and other de-Googled phones. Please check it out. Your support is greatly appreciated, and these tools are really critical for your privacy. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.